Well, it's 7 a.m. on a Monday morning. Good morning and a warm welcome to your perfect day starter, the morning brief. But if it's really hot where you're at right now, I bid you a cool welcome. I'm Kayode Okikulu.
And I'm Jeffrey. Of course, that's the heat wave.
Yeah.
Heat wave warning. Do we have heat wave in Nigeria?
Yes, we do.
Some sort of.
In that sense, because what I've been experiencing,
the mild element
Jeffrey,
of it
is heat wave.
You need to have your bath like 4 times a day, 2 times a day, or at least just to be able to survive. Even if you have the best of air conditioning, except you literally want to go and stand by the air conditioner, and overexposure to air conditioned may not be good for you.
So
at the end of the day.
AC, turn on the fan, then you have to shower consistently. It's a lot really to handle, and for people who don't have power supply at this time, it just makes a very bad situation worse. And then their neighbor's generating set is on all through the midnight. So it's just a lot. So
if you have power supply, you're struggling with band A or band B.
Again.
One of the things I've noticed, and I feel very sad about it, for the fact that I know people who are not well off, who are paying for band A. And I think it's just gross injustice. I mean, I'm not telling you. So when you have neighborhood as a mixture of the middle class and some elements of slightly rich and then predominantly poor or a lot of poor people, just a sprinkle of, the distribution of the population. And you now have these people paying for band A. I think the government or the energy people or whoever is in charge of all of this, Minister of Power, at least that one we know, should look into this issue of electricity tariff, especially for the low-income earners. It is just not fair. I actually did an experiment and I put it up on my DP one day, where I remember I had bought 1,000 when it was band A, and it gave me a particular figure. I think 1,000 was about 14 point something units. That's how we calculated. And then when they now migrated us unsolicited to band, that was band B, by the way. When they migrated us to unsolicited to band A, that same 1,000 got us about 14.4. I just use this to test. Yeah. And I realized the money we spend, perhaps for 2 to 3 months, is what we're likely, or what we're spending now for a month. And so you can imagine the low-income earners who may not have, anything just to try and get to survive. And then they have to deal with this every other day. I think it's just not fair. It's just not good. Something has to be done. So perhaps it's the reason why that NYSC lady is complaining. You can go back and forth as to the language she used to address the president and all of that, but the merits of our issues are valid. You can argue about whether she's supposed to say it, whether she was rude. I think she used the word terrible, I don't know. I know that the NYSC bylaws have something about not being rude to constituted authority, but I don't know whether that constituted authority has to do with NYSC officials or federal government or state government. I'm not sure, whatever that is. At the end of the day, because sometimes when people write these laws, it's later you now realize that they were not thinking through before they wrote these laws, because certain things are supposed to be added to give some form of an explainer. But what that young lady was saying is clearly valid. A young lady who is trying to set out in life, she's saying everything is going to bills, 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 bills. And this is why we've been telling the government that you can come and throw at us, your reserve is 62 billion, you can draw the fancy numbers. But how we look at impact is very simple, the quality of the life of people. As long as it hasn't improved, I don't think we're getting it right. It's just a waste of time.
And I think the issues are quite straightforward. The questions that a lot of Nigerians are ruminating upon, very simple. One, is President Tinubu terrible? Right? And it's quite straightforward. If you check the dictionary definition of the word terrible, it just means bad at something. It's as simple as that. And I wonder if a lot of people have checked very bad at doing something. So is President Tinubu bad at the job he's doing? She has provided her own data, which is from her own reality. So the onus is on the government, the president's handlers, to counter it with data and said, well, these are the things the president is meant to do. In this area, he has done this. Is that good or bad? Well, we rate. In this area, he has done this. Is that good or bad? We'll rate. In this area, he has done this based on the terms of reference. It's as simple as that. Looking at the NYSC bylaws and all of that, again, the interpretation is quite tricky. It talks about policy issues, addressing the press, getting approval from state coordinator. I think that's just about the NYSC. That just has to do with the NYSC. And I must say that this presents government a very good opportunity. I must say this. It presents government with a very good opportunity to sort of use this energy and use it right. Some of the responses I've been seeing, not officially now, but here and there, might not do well. Because what you will have, or what you're having now, is people on social media doing a trend, 30 days rant, and this will keep flooding in. So this is data for government, absolutely. Take that data, act on it, give us your own data. The Lagos bit again, which got a lot of people irked, particularly Lagosians. And some other people said, well, that is their data, that's what she's experiencing. In fact, people came out with their own experience in this area, talking about Lagos smelly or not. Saying, in this area, yes, I have experienced that stench. In this area, I've experienced this stench. Is the whole of Lagos like that? Certainly not. You have areas that are well taken care of, but it speaks to the role of the people. But you know what? We're going to give you more on that. Two important questions raised by that core member.
I like the way you put it. So let's be clear. If you've gone to places like Akwa Ibom, without trying to create a war here, Lagos smells in certain parts compared
it's
to
important to just
in parts, in certain parts. So perhaps the area she's been to, because there are places you pass in Lagos, like Ojota, it's horrible.
Because there is a refuse dump.
So there is a horrible. There are other parts of Ikeja. So there are parts of VI that, close to the ocean. It depends on the time of the day. I have lived close to the ocean before. So what we're trying to say is that that's a reality, whether she's right or wrong. And this attitude of, and it's almost a piece of this attitude. Well, let me say, because they are politicians, so they will just be political. When people criticize government based on their reality, don't just jump and say, because you're a handler of the president or your leadership, say, oh, it's the opposition. What is the opposition? Food is expensive. Life is difficult for Nigerians because of the policy of the government. So what exactly is the opposition? The facts are the facts. The promise is that it's going to get better, but it hasn't gotten better, so the facts are the facts. So we should stop this thing about as soon as somebody criticizes the government, it's opposition. What does that even mean in English? How much was rice? How much is it? How much was fuel? How much is it? How much was, what is it? Power. How much is it? So what exactly is opposition? So please stop. Use this opportunity, as Sky has said, and navigate, begin to explain yourself. Because you're going to keep explaining yourself until people see things working. Else you're wasting your time. It's as simple as that.
Speaking of that, we have a lot more on the show about that. So if you think this is the end now, we are getting deeper into it. But let's give you insight into other areas we'll be touching on the show this morning. And top on the brief is the political drama still in Rivers State. We'll be speaking to a leader in the region, Dokubo Asari, the Amayanabo of Torusarama Piri, as we seek a path to end the crisis in the state.
Well, we've talked about this in passing. Heatstroke, heatwave, whatever heat in between. So we'll perhaps be giving you tips on how to navigate this very hot season in Nigeria, in places, especially I imagine what the people in the north are dealing with. If those of us in down south who even have ocean are trying to cry out like this. So the experts will be right here to break it down for us on the program.
And on this week's edition of Women in Business, we'll be touching base with Tolulope Aribioke, a woman redefining the education sector in the UK.
And we'll get our guy into, all your devices, issues around fixing whatever it is that you're dealing with on your laptop. Some of those laptops, like one of mine that has seen years and generations, we'll get to have answers as to troubleshooting your laptop, if it's not seeing internet, if the audio is not working, all of those things that maybe a bit of troubleshooting can resolve. Our guy will be here to resolve it for you.
And finally, on this week's edition of Morning Chapters, we're taking a look at first-class honors What does that mean? I know a lot of students will be interested in this one because I think everybody gets into school hoping to get a first class, right? But what is it about this book? What is inside? How does faith play a role? You don't want to miss today's edition.
It just reminds me kind of a particular story I had about a guy who was sorting himself. When he got to final, he realized he's going to make first class. I knew he can't defend it. He started desorting so that they reduce his grade.
To 2-1 at least.
Yes, to 2-1. Something that is not interested in having eyebrows raised. So email address is on your screen, so you can send us your messages as well as your WhatsApp messages. CTV Morning Brief, hashtag CTV Morning Brief is how to get to us on the program on X. But we'll take a quick break now. When we come back, okay, are we taking a quick break? No, we'll get to the papers.
Yes, let's get to the dailies now.
I almost missed that.
Pages are saying. It's okay.
My producer is almost on my ears.
Don't worry, we're giving you that lineup back to back. No breathers, at least for now. And the big one on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, well, may get your attention. It's been in the works, really. And it's not the NYC matter or the NYC ladies' statements just yet. The big story is about politics. And you see, Sule Lamido tackles El Rufai. That's about the statement he made about them joining SDP. Basically sending invites to other politicians saying, better join the SDP right now. But Sule Lamido has tackled him, saying, if PDP is struggling today, it is still the party that nurtured El Rufai. If he claims PDP is dead, then he must remember that it is the party that gave him a political foundation. Whatever he has achieved today, PDP made it possible. For a lot of people who are new to politics may have forgotten his antecedents, where he's coming from in politics. He didn't start from, not even El Rufai himself. Okay. He didn't start from the APC. Well, some people, yes, they transitioned to the APC, merged and all, but he was in PDP. He was FCT minister under Olusegun Obasanjo. So this will give you an insight, perhaps, for those who are newcomers to politics, into his political trajectory. But it's a page 40 read on the Nigerian, or in the Nigerian Tribune this morning. So politics is still hugging the headlines.
I know that Sule Lamido, who has been in politics since God knows how long, feels insulted.
Right.
That a party like the PDP that has more than 10 governors and a lot of lawmakers, both at the state and national assembly, some in the entire state, is being wooed to come and join the SDP that doesn't even have a state. How many representatives would they have? Or do you understand? Yeah. So I think that's why it really feels, so perhaps it's feeling like Nasser El-Rufai is feeling larger than life. He can bring an entire institution.
Ironically, Sule Lamido was in the SDP.
Yes, in the SDP of the days
of them, right? But the logo hasn't changed.
Yeah, so that's why I know that he feels insulted.
Right.
That's what it is. Anyway, FG must stop threatening Nigerians for criticizing government. That's on the top page, just above the nameplate of the Tribune. Page 3 is what Amnesty is talking about. But let's move away from that to this Nigeria.
Just to be clear, yes. Is there any case, particularly with the statements made by the NYC, where there's been an official threat to the lady from the federal government?
No, I do not think that, because I guess Amnesty is saying an official of government is an official of government. But FG as a government, I don't, but they say coppers are federal government property. So when a federal government official is now, because I'm also waiting for the NYC to respond. Right. I haven't seen that response.
Today should be the day.
So the NYC, this is not the time to keep quiet. It's not cool to be quiet. The girl has laid allegations. She's provided her own bit of, evidence. Yeah, so just clarify, whoever that official is. And I don't know why that, for whatever reason, for whatever she said, how do you talk to an NYC official like she's your child?
Or a core member.
A core member.
Again, I need to know who that person is.
Yeah, so
we need to be clear who that person really is.
Let's be very clear. It is that lady, if that lady is an NYC official, she should be reprimanded. This is somebody who went to school, has graduated, serves, and you're talking to is the girl your baby? Is she your child? What kind of... And I'm sure these things happen.
Oh, yeah.
They happen. I even hear sometimes they say, kneel down. What in the world is that? What is going on here? The girl is not your child, for heaven's sake. So let's not even go there. All right, so let's go to this Nigeria, right? Reps recovered 28.7 billion naira from oil companies. Public Accounts Committee probe into $1.7 billion debts to Federation accounts of 45 oil companies. Oil companies yield results. So I'm happy that as we're looking for money, we're getting, even if it's a small money. 28 billion is a lot of money. So whatever it is that they were able to probe and get out, and I'm sure there's a lot more from where this came from. We just need a bit more, to be a bit more aggressive in recovering whatever it is we're losing. Remember, Festus Keyamo, the aviation minister, has also said people shortchanging the system to collect licenses that they are not supposed to collect. We need to recover those monies. I was talking with Festus Osifo yesterday. I was raising concern about a certain oil companies that has flooded Nigeria with Indians, literally shortchanging the system. We must go after these companies. These things cannot keep happening. And one day we're going to do all of this. Call them out, because most of the time when you reach out to these companies, they are evasive to come and talk. And some of them are allegedly perpetrating a lot of evil on our soil. So we must call them out so that they can come and respond as well. So below that, we have Abalama Kalabari standstill as Ijo Honor Wike. He has done a lot to empower Ijo sons more than any other person in recent times. So this has generated a lot of issues. They say he insulted Ijo people, in that is media parley. He went to Abalama to say that's not what he meant, and that is part of the heart of Ijo nation. So some people are feeling like, well, we're going to talk about it on the program. I guess that's part of what we'll talk with Mujahid aside of football later on in the program on how he feels.
So something to look out for and, of course, wait for. But let's take the Blueprint's front page quickly. And leads with the same story about the recovery, 28 billion naira from, now, Blueprint mentions names. That's the front page of a Blueprint newspaper now. Yeah, there you go. So you see reps recovered 28 billion naira from Chorus Energy Seplet, 199.3 million of 6.8 billion naira excessive charges from banks too. So just to be,
I need to meet reps to find out. I'm seeing banks sometimes they are stealing from me. If we
need to lay a complaint, you can write a petition, Jeffrey. You are a Nigerian to write a petition.
Your money just disappears.
What interests me from this one is that the committee's investigation is according to findings in the 2021 audit report. So when we look at those audit reports, let me say we'll find gold. That's 2021. There's still meant to be 2022, 2023, 2024. So imagine what we may find. And that's why there's been a lot of clamor about the audit report. Let us look at these things and be sure. Because believe me, Jeffrey, there are people sitting on huge sums, or sat on it, I've even forgotten. Nigeria's Commonwealth I'm talking about. So
do you know what I really believe? The biggest problem we have is not the perpetrators of the crime. It's institutional complicity, like those Indian companies I talked about. Somebody allowed it to slide.
Providing security, by the way.
Yes. So whatever is going wrong, the government has a role to play. Somebody is dropping the ball. And we live in a climate where as soon as you call for people's head to be fired, tribalism, ethnicity, religion comes in. So for all of this to have happened, let's us not just recover the money. Who was the head of what, where, and how? And why didn't they get the persons or individuals that, I'm not just talking about this recovery, every form of illegality that has been perpetrated in our country. But Kyrie, this diphtheria, we must not, I know it's on Nigerian Tribune as well as this Nigeria, over 1,300 persons died from diphtheria. And NCDC named Kano, Bauchi, Yobe, Katsina as high burden state. So I don't want us to miss that story. But hey, because it's a huge health concern, I think we should go to trends, Kyrie.
So quite a lot to wrap our heads around, really. But we'll take a quick break. We'll still have more trends for you, particularly how Nigerians are responding to those statements. The video put out by the core member, it was a big story over the weekend. There's been a lot of political movement here and there too. And of course, we'll be talking about politics. There's so much for you on the show this morning, so stay with us. We'll be right back. So let's get right into what Nigerians have been saying about the big stories. And naturally, the statement by a core member, yes, speaking her mind, her experience, that you have talked to Ray on TikTok. That's her handle. It was this video she just put on TikTok. Just vented her frustration about the price of eggs. How is the price 6,500 naira? By the way, I know where you can get it for 5-6, Jeffrey. But that's a reality. That's where she's getting it from. And then she spoke directly to the president, saying for her, she doesn't know about the history, but she thinks that this current president has been bad at his job. And she also talked about Lagos, how she believes that Lagos is smelly. Quite a number of issues she raised. Irked a lot of people. Some people backed her up as well. And then you had politicians jumping in and saying, yes, I support her. So it's a lot of things happening together at the same time. But let's get a feel of what Nigerians are saying. Wisdom is the first user on this one. That's Madu_Uwa saying, simply, she's saying the truth. Our so-called patience has turned to a vice rather than a virtue.
Ben Samuel says, we're all just pretending it feels like there's no government. This woman's frustration is completely justified. In fact, somebody sent me a message yesterday and said, are we a defeated people? Because we keep being pushed. We had the Olusegun Obasanjo government were pushed. We adjusted.
Someone actually said
Musa Yar'Adua
that she was the best. Obasanjo. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah. More like in terms of the prices of goods and services. So this government will say because we're living a fake life. That's what they always say. Then the next administration, and then Goodluck Jonathan, and then former President Muhammadu Buhari. Things just keep getting difficult, and we keep adjusting. So the question is, are Nigerians just a defeated people? I don't think so. And this is where Nigerian government has to be very careful. I am more worried when people are silent than when they are talking. That should worry anybody. Because Nigerians are taking a lot. They've gone through too much. So when young people are, and I think she's Gen Z, right? I see this Gen Z talk, we're even lucky she was even a bit cool. If you hear some of the other Gen Z talk, maybe they would have picked her up from her house since yesterday. But this is their reality. This is the country we are bequeathing to them. Life is hard for them and they are pushing on. Whether she used a right term or not is a different kettle of fish. But our reality is our reality. All right, Kayode, you have the next one. I think
that's Hamadex.
Yes.
Hamadex is the next user on this. And Hamadex basically says, but everything she stated are facts. Why are they threatening her? So to put it in context, the threats we've heard, at least from her own point, some of the messages and the text or the video she put up from someone allegedly from the NYSC. We understand again that she's been summoned, according to her side of the story, to appear before the NYSC today. So Channels Television is staying right on that story to give you all of the facts and the angles to that one. But that's just what we have so far. But she should certainly not be threatened at all.
No, she should not be threatened. It doesn't make sense. She's a federal government property, by the way. And Kayode, me, I'm more interested in the person who spoke to her on the phone.
Yeah.
If indeed that's an NYSC official, that NYSC official should be suspended. Yes, that person should be suspended. How do you speak to a graduate? I don't even know where to start from. Anyway, Sunday Truck says, the cost of living crisis is really affecting a lot of people. Something needs to change. People are voicing out their frustration, but is the government listening? All right.
As we said, this presents the government
an opportunity.
Good opportunity, a very good opportunity. Storms like this, you can ride it and really bump your image, increase your ratings. So I'm waiting to see how the government, from the NYSC, of course, to the president. The president was mentioned, or his handlers, even the state government in Lagos. I'm waiting to see how this will be handled. But, Jeffrey, something else caught a lot of people's attention over the weekend, and that's the video of the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 election, Mr. Peter Obi, breaking fast with Marjorie. So just allow you feel that moment. Take the essence in. then we'll speak to what Nigerians are saying. You know, we've seen all sorts. Politicians eating corn inside of the road, hawking, doing different things. I'm not sure we've seen them eat rice with our Marjorie. So this is a new, I don't know, this is a new one. And naturally, a lot of people have been talking about it. I particularly like that he shared his food with the children. So I think it speaks to what Nigerians should do, share. But hey, a lot of people see politics in this naturally. I'll just quickly take this one from Omoya saying, Northern politics is more than just making donations or paying a courtesy visit to the emir. Drilling boreholes and building schools as a heartfelt gesture, or breaking fast with our Marjorie. I hope Obi and all of his supporters can relate.
That's a vital information that you should take cognizance of.
Very good data set.
That is, I'm sure somebody from the North who understands how the North process things like this. It's a good one, but this politicians doing what politicians do. But the guy has actually said it's beyond all of this. But let's move away from that. So where the Oluwari, we saw a video of him using the, what do you call that thing again, Kai?
Scooter?
Scooter. Yes, so the royalty with steeds. This is royalty with steeds. So that's the Oluwari, Ogiame III, using the scooter within his domain. So a lot of people were quite thrilled to see. He's a young king. He's a very young king, very, very young king. So he does a lot of modern things. He uses the iPad. During his inauguration, he used that prompter. So he tries to modernize an ancient stool with some of this approach to royalty. So that, at least this is one thing that people are just cheering on, clapping and talking about, besides the challenges we face in our country. All right, so we'll take a quick break now. When we come back after the break, we'll bring you our very first conversation. Is that unending crisis in Rivers politics? We'll be joined by Alhaji Asari Dokubo right here on the program. Join us again. Welcome back. We've been talking about the crisis in Rivers State for close to 2 years since the administration of the current governor of the state, Siminalayi Fubara, and it has taken different dimensions with the Supreme Court judgment, which we felt should have given some level of, even if it's a temporary closure, but right now there appears to be some level of a logjam. The governor has attempted to present the budget. Well, it's written to the State House of Assembly, who wants to present it 2 days from now, which is Wednesday. Well, we don't know whether that letter has been received by the Assembly. The Assembly on their own have also passed 3 bills. I guess forwarded it to the governor as well. Whether it has gotten to the governor, we don't know. But they've also adjourned indefinitely. So where does this leave all of us? Well, we're being joined by someone who is a very strong stakeholder in Rivers politics, Alhaji Mujahid Dokubo Asari Zamayana Bo Toro Sarami Pri Yelem Kalabari. Thank you so much for coming on the program, Alhaji.
Good morning.
All right, let's begin with what your interpretation of what is playing out in Rivers State is. There are so many commentaries as to what is happening in Rivers State, depending on who and what you're listening to. So let's hear from your own end as to what you make of this situation that appears not to be ending anytime soon.
What is happening in Rivers State is one individual wanting to pocket Rivers State. its own. And a lot of commentators had analyzed the situation in Rivers State and had called on President Ahmed Bola Tinubu to step in and arrest the situation. I did a live broadcast on the 12th of December 2023. After the first failed meeting, which was very, very biased, tilted towards supporting Nyeso Wike, the Minister for Federal Capital Territory. And this video has become, this live broadcast has become viral recently because of the pronouncement of the Supreme Court. I'm not going to call the pronouncement of the Supreme Court a judgment, because there is nothing that the pronouncement of the Supreme Court said that had anything to do with the law in Nigeria. It's a total abuse of the law of Nigeria. Everybody knows, all of us know that the Supreme Court is supposed to be final arbiter. The words of the Supreme Court are final. So the Supreme Court not assumed that because their words are final, they will import into these powers that they do not have, morally depraved decisions that are clearly against the Constitution and the people of Nigeria. We're not just talking about Rivers State. For instance, does the Supreme Court really have jurisdiction to adjudicate on issues concerning local government elections? It's very clear. Local government elections adjudication ends at Court of First Instance, which is the High Court. So where did the Supreme Court derive its power in making pronouncement on elections, post-elections, litigation arising from the elections in Rivers State? Number two, how would the Supreme Court talk about something and adjudicate on a matter that was not before her? Can the Supreme Court go on a flurry of its own to import matters that were not before her and start to make decisions on those matters? The issue of defection was not before the Supreme Court. The issue of defection is still at the High Court. So how did the Supreme Court get those matters into the Supreme Court to make pronouncement on it? Other than that, there were people behind the scene dictating to the Supreme Court what the Supreme Court ought to say. So they have said it. And I think the governor was in a haste to have accepted the judgment.
Alhaji Dokubo, that would be, if I may, that would be impugning on the integrity of the Supreme Court.
Yes, I am.
No,
the
you
Supreme
can't.
Court has no
No,
integrity in Nigeria.
no, Alhaji, we will not allow you impugn on the integrity of the Supreme Court. So
if the Supreme Court is wrong, if the Supreme Court is not called,
in your words,
the Supreme Court can just decide that you, as the person interviewing me, you should die. And immediately they go and kill you, they hang you, or you are sent to a firing squad because the Supreme Court said so.
That's why the Supreme
Court final and nobody can talk when there is glaring corruption.
Alhaji,
in his pronouncement.
Alhaji, yes, I understand what you're saying. I understand where the grievances are. The analogy you gave is not particularly the same. What we're saying is that the final.
The same judgment. Was there no same judgment about defection in the case of Plateau State? About 13 or 15 people defected to a different party.
What I'm saying in essence is that you can disagree with the judgment of the Supreme Court, but you have to accept it without impugning on the integrity of the Supreme Court. That's what I'm saying.
I will not accept it. I will not.
This is the Supreme Court we're talking about. So let's move on from So in addition, now that the Supreme Court has made its decision, and that is the final decision as far as we have now, I want you to speak to the current logjam we have found ourselves. I know there are peripheral issues, undercurrents all over this issue at the end of the day. And you are a stakeholder, you are a traditional ruler now, and there's a lot on the table. Peace in Rivers State is where we're heading to. And you've made allegations as to who is pushing what and all of that. We know all of this. Now, what do you think needs to be done? Because right now, there is grandstanding on both ends.
I think that the Supreme Court had given so much power to one side and are taking the sovereignty of the people of Rivers State away from the people of Rivers State, which was invested on the governor of Rivers State. Having said that, when Yaradua was sick, there was the need, because there was no constitutional provision as to what to do. There was the need for what they called, what did they call that? That they contrived something for the good of the people. The president should come out openly, because the first initiative he took did not work. It is not left for him. It is wrong for the president to come out to say that people should go and obey the judgment of the Supreme Court, the supremacy of the judiciary. When the law does not stand as the law, when the pronouncement of individual becomes the law, then it is dangerous. You are asking people to resort to self-help.
Right.
The president can save the situation by falling back to the doctrine of necessity, by calling both parties to a round table to resolve this logjam. That's the only solution now, because they have added more feathers to the feathers of the wings of Messiah Wike and his followers, to continue with their impunity, to continue. How can the Supreme Court give a judgment that have collective punishment of the people of Rivers State by seizing the allocation of Rivers State, So as long as this crisis continues, the Rivers people will not enjoy the benefit of their resources, which is being given to the federal government.
All right.
And part of it is given to them. Will not resolve. Our workers will not be paid. Our doctors will not be paid. Our teachers will not be paid. Nobody will be paid. Who does that? When can that be done?
In the same token, Alhaji, would you say that Governor Fubara is also wrong for accepting and promising to implement the Supreme Court judgment?
Yes, I said Governor Fubara is very hasty and wrong. This judgment cannot stand the test of time. It cannot.
So what are you calling for?
Cannot stand the test of. It's like apartheid. There are laws. Apartheid made laws that white and black cannot pass the same road. They cannot pass the same door. They cannot sit in the same hall. Was it not law? Was the Supreme Court of South Africa, or whatever nomenclature it is called, not adjudicating on such laws? When a law is bad, when a law is wrong, when a pronouncement is wrong, it is incumbent on the people to say this is wrong. And I am one of those people who are saying this thing is wrong. These judgments are not judgment based on the Constitution, based on common sense, based on equity, and based on the interest of the people of Nigeria.
So let me follow up with this question, Alhaji. When the Supreme Court affirmed the election of President Bola Tinubu, you celebrated it and you said, well, everybody should end all litigation. So that's the same Supreme Court given a judgment. So what has changed? Is it because it's not favoring you?
If the today says something that is good today, and tomorrow it says something 360-degree bad, we should accept it, because yesterday the Kwasare said what is good, and today it's saying something 360-degree Very, very terrible. We should accept it because he said something good before. The Supreme Court gave judgment on the election. I was on the field in that election, and I saw the election, and I know that Ahmed Bola Tinubu won that election. Even though today I might disagree with his policies, I might disagree, he won that election. And I cannot change from that. Supreme Court has been delivering judgment since it came into insertion in Nigeria. Are we going to say that all the judgment given by the Supreme Court since it came into insertion is bad just because this particular one is not even a judgment, it's a pronouncement that does not have any basis on the law, on the Constitution, on common sense, on equity, or the interests of the people?
Alhaji, so let's talk about some of the rhetorics we're seeing. And I know that you had released this, the palace had released a statement as to the fact that if I read that statement correctly, this is almost provocative, given some of the things that the minister had said in his media parley. And the reason I'm asking this is because rhetorics have a way of inflaming the politics and the politics itself. So I would like you to speak to some of the things that has been played out right here. And because the issues around the FCT minister has said they just, quote and unquote, using my own words now, cannot hold the country to ransom because of threatening to blow up pipelines and all of those things. So I would like you to respond to some of those things he said, as well as what options is on the table right now from where you sit as far as this issue is concerned.
I don't listen to that trainer. I know him. He was my junior in the university. I know that trainer. I don't listen to him. Most times it's under the influence of substance and all that. So I really don't listen to him.
Alhaji, that's the FCT minister we're talking about here, sir.
Yes, I know him very well. He knows me too. He knows me very well. So most times I've not listened to, I only hear from people. So I hardly comment on what he said because he has never been reasonable. And I feel sad that the political system threw up characters like this and they become colossus and big, mighty giants. Okay. What I'm trying to say is that whatever he says about the job people, it's okay for us. Because some job people were with him, celebrating him after he has said all that. I did not hear it because I'm not listening. And some people have said it before me, but I'm not concerned. The important thing is this. Ijaw people, quick, Platata Solo said it. Ijaw people owns the land that these resources are there. And if Ijaw people are threatened, they have the right to defend themselves. We have the right to defend ourselves. We have the right to defend our interests. So whatever anybody says, that is the business of that person. The Ijaws will defend their right. They will defend their interests. The Ijaws must protect their life so that they will survive. Our forefathers handed this legacy to us, and we're going to hand over this same legacy to our own children. It is not Nyeso Wike who will tell the job people how we are going to behave, what we are going to do. It's not Nyeso Wike. He not qualify at all to tell us. So if pipeline pass in our place and somebody threatens us and take our livelihood from us, and we decide that this pipeline, we don't want it on our land, Nyeso Wike cannot stop it. Nobody can stop it. Nobody. We are saying it openly. I am saying it. Nobody can stop the job people from doing what we want to do. They never born that person.
But he also said that the protection of the pipeline, the project or the contract itself, was given to an Ijaw person. So is that going to be a conflict of interest if he or his company is trying to protect the pipeline and the same people are trying to destroy the pipeline?
We have not, we just, when Ijaw takes a decision, then whoever is given anything to do anything, fall in line. I don't think an Ijaw man will stand in opposition to the collective interest and survival of Ijaw.
So has a decision been made? Has a decision been given to those pipelines?
I am not, today, I was former president of the Ijaw Nation as president of the Ijaw Youth Council. That was about 25 years ago. I am not the president of INC. I am not the president of the Ijaw Youth Council. I am not the president or chairman of the Ijaw Council of Traditional Rulers and Leaders of Thought. They are their chairman. When they call us and we meet, we have not met. A decision has not been taken. But it's very dangerous. It's very difficult. Look, I know Ijaw people. Ijaw people are the easiest people to mobilize. That's why you are seeing it's just a tip of the iceberg. You are seeing Ijaw demonstrating in Abuja, demonstrating in Warri, demonstrating in Yenegua, demonstrating in Port Harcourt, demonstrating at Abalama, and everywhere. It just are rising up. The flame is sparking, and it is better. And some of the job people, because of the anger, I have heard so many job people, the anger, women going topless because they are so angry with what they said in statement he has made, which I have not heard directly, and I'm not interested in hearing it. So even before we take decision, some Ijaw people can decide to act on their own, and that's the most dangerous. That's the most dangerous. That some Ijaw people, they know the fury of Ijaw people, and they want to test it. I wish them the best of luck. I pray that this fury does not come.
Alhaji, at the end of the day, we're trying to find a pathway. But let's talk about some of the things that people have been, more like the nuances around. Some people have been saying that the end game is to impeach the governor, and all is being done to that effect. I would like your reaction to that.
My dear brother, make them try now. They have the power, they have the number. Make them try. Make them try. See, this is how it started in the former Western region, Operation Wetty. This is how it started in the Western region, little by little. And as somebody who is close to President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, who has so much love for President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, I've been crying out. I've been crying out on top of my 6-story building, calling on Ahmed Bola Tinubu that this Christ face, this Goliath you have created in Rivers State, the same way that Goliath fell in other realms, this Goliath will be brought down by the people of Rivers State. And if the Goliath is brought down, the consequences of it will be far-reaching. And that's why I am calling on President Bola Tinubu. The ball is in his court. The matter is on his table. And it's a matter of ultimate urgency that he, a President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, my friend before, should be able to handle this matter and resolve it, and let there be no victor, no vanquished.
Naturally, the question...
I don't know what to say.
Well, the question that naturally jumps out next, Alhaji, you said you love President Bola Tinubu very much. And then you said in the same breath that your friend before. So we're not quite sure what has happened to that relationship, but I want you to speak to an issue of national importance. Maybe you can speak to why someone you love is now your friend before. But a young Nigerian put up a video where she described President Bola Tinubu as terrible, which means bad at his job. Is President Bola Tinubu terrible to you?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I can't get the question.
My question is about an issue that is trending nationally now, because you've described President Bola Tinubu as someone you love very much. In the same breath, you said your friend before. So we don't know what happened that broke down. But a young Nigerian described President Bola Tinubu as terrible. Do you agree with her? Do you disagree?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm a Muslim and I'm fasting. This is the month of Ramadan. There's an Egyptian sheikh. He has died long ago, Sheikh Kiski. And he said, when a man becomes a king or wealthy, Satan becomes his chief advisor and best friend. When he wakes up, Satan is standing by his bedside. When he wants to eat, Satan is standing by him. When he's going out, Satan is in front of him. So when leaders go into power, there are certain forces, unseen forces, which I also know. They will be around to give advice. And they will, if you are not careful. And then we're Africans. We know that there are juju, oru, all sort of for everything. They go to pastors, they go to Alpha, they go to Malam, they go to everywhere to call and invoke the name of the person who is in power and to control him. And it's possible. When I say Ahmed Bola Tinubu, who had been my friend since 1992 when we met closely during the campaign for MK Abiola, we have been in close, constant, and very good relationship, even when he was in Ezra during the Nadeko era. Now, he came to power, and I was the first person in that month, January 12, December 12 live broadcast. I said, this is the worst government for a job people in the history of Nigeria. And I meant it, and I meant every word of it. And from that time, he has all the power. He's the one who has the power to maintain the relationship that we have. He is president. He has all the paraphernalia of office around him and all this thing. You can't walk into Aso Rock as we used to walk into Bodilon. Now we can't walk into Aso Rock the same way we used to walk in. He has all sorts of people. He's the one that can maintain the friendship more than myself. I can continue. I can't leave Ahmed Bola. It's not because I'm afraid of him, because relationship matters. Friendship is more than money, it's more than everything. I had been in very dear situations, and this man, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, who is now president, has stood by me, had taken shot for me, had made sacrifices for me. And this burden is on me today. I feel the pain every day as somebody who is close to him, somebody who can walk up to his bedroom, somebody who can walk everywhere unrestricted. I feel the pain inside me today that this is happening. But I know that when people get into position like this, these challenges come up. I pray for him every day. Even this morning, after Subhi prayer, I prayed for him. I cried sometimes because I'm seeing my friend. It's no longer behaving like my friend that was Ahmed Bola Tinubu before. And I pray for him.
So do you think he's terrible, Alhaji? As the lady said, do you think he's terrible at what he's doing?
I cannot say it's terrible. It's a vicious circle in Africa. It's a vicious circle in Nigeria, where one government comes after the other. They say they want to change. The issues are the same. Nothing has really changed. Oh, good luck was terrible. We removed good luck. We brought Buhari. Oh, we said Buhari was terrible. And now it's Ahmed Bola Tinubu. We say it's a vicious cycle. We pray. All of us are praying, and we're expecting that between now and 2027, the Ahmed Bola Tinubu will change. It will be the Ahmed Bola Tinubu that I had known since 1992.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming on the program. So, in 2027, if he runs for re-election, are you voting for him again, given what you have seen so far?
For now, I will still vote for him.
Okay. Alhaji Mujahid.
Because the angel you know is better than the Satan you don't know.
Well, that's not how the saying goes, but...
No, that's the other one, you know, but my own is that the angel you know is better than the Satan you don't know.
Okay. Alhaji Mujahid, Dokubo Asari,
Thank you very much.
Amayanabo or Toro Saramapri, LM Calavari. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we'll now take a quick break and we'll come back to bring you more on the program. Join us again in just a moment. We'll be right back.
The heat has been unforgiving in the past few weeks. And it's just really tough for people, particularly struggling with power supply, struggling with the environmental issues. So it's just making a bad situation worse. So on the show this morning, we want to talk about that heat wave, the heat stroke, call it whatever, but that heat that you're feeling that makes you shower countless times daily, that keeps you hydrated, keeps you stressed. How do we handle this situation? Well, as you can see, we're joined by Dr. Leah Ajayi, who's a specialist acute medicine and stroke, co-founder and administrative lead at the ACE Academy, joining us from the United Kingdom. Good morning, Dr. Ajayi. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for inviting me on board.
You know, I was looking at the temperature in the UK or the weather, and I just wish I could channel event from your side and just channel it here to Lagos. Because even though you are below 10 or thereabout, it's still much better than the almost 40 that people are experiencing here. So we just wanted to balance the conversation as a health professional first, and maybe you can let some cool air blow into Nigeria. How should people prepare, or rather handle, the heat, the excessive heat that they're experiencing right now?
Right now. Thank you so much for inviting me on board. I mean, this is a very crucial topic considering, you know, the impact and even how very high it can have on the body. I'll just start with an overview. So you have the normal body temperature to be between 36.5 to 37.5 degrees centigrade. But by the time you get into heat stroke, you're having temperatures above 40 degrees and above. So you can imagine how the body is trying to adapt to that. So heat stroke, you have it when you have very, very high temperature in the excess of 40 degrees and above, and there's no way the body itself can auto-regulate or auto-cool itself. So there are a lot of factors, for instance, in Nigeria that really predisposes to heat stroke. So for instance, there's high humidity, so like the amount of water vapor in the air, and the way the body auto-regulate, for instance, you have by evaporation, where, you know, you have very hot sweat trying to evaporated into the atmosphere, but because the humidity is very high, it can't happen. So that mechanism is really out of it. You also have radiation, where, you know, heat is trying to move from a very hot area to a less cooler area, but because in Nigeria of the very high humidity, because that mechanism definitely does not work. Obviously, you know that with the air, with power supply, that also affects how people can try to cool themselves. So I mean, some of the things that heat stroke can really cause. So for instance, when temperatures are beyond what the body can auto-regulate, people can start experiencing like their heart racing fast. They can start experiencing dizziness. People even pass out. And you also have that not even just in areas where the temperature is so high. So when people go for like marathon, when people exercise a lot, and then they bring up their body core temperature, that can happen as well. However, there's some mechanisms people can adapt to just help them reduce those rates. So for instance, it's very important to stay hydrated. So I know that some people, you might forget, oh, it's very busy not to drink water. There's some, you know, water bottles, there's some water coolers that have marks and tells you, have you had a drink today? You can even set reminder really, or have some marks saying by 11 a.m. you should have drank this amount of water to stay hydrated, because you want to take much more water than you take normally to compensate for that loss. Also trying to use handheld cooling fans. So there are a lot of all these portable fans that can be battery powered, or you can charge it in advance. Very important. It's also very important to avoid getting in the sun in the peak time. So usually to be between 12 and 3 p.m. To try and avoid it as much as possible, or even use umbrellas so that you're not under the direct sun exposure. Also for people that have underlying health condition, it's also very important, because that means they are much more susceptible to that. So like people with high blood pressure, people with diabetes, because they're already trying to manage their blood sugar. On top of that, very excessive, or people that have like underlying cancer or treatment for cancer, the immune system is already low, and they have to take extra precaution. So I would say the mechanism is to stay hydrated, very important. If you're feeling any sign of feeling unwell, you're feeling dizzy, you're feeling tired, your heart is racing fast, and you just
All right,
don't
Dr.
feel
Ajayi,
well.
if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, my apologies. So I know you started it already, so but let's stay on it and expatiate. That has to do who is mostly at risk when it comes to heat stroke. Let's break down those categories of people so they know themselves, and you can now put your panacea to it to that effect.
Yeah. So for people that are most at risk of heat stroke, I would say number one, everybody. However, some people are more at risk than the other. So for instance, you have the elderly people, they are more at risk of that because obviously the way their body try to just regulate things is different from younger people. People with underlying health conditions, so if you have like hypertension, diabetes, people with underlying cancer, having treatment and all of that, they are at risk. Also, people that are in direct sunlight, so you have the traders or people that their jobs require them to stay in direct sunlight all the time, they are most at risk. People that are not eating well, with malnutrition, with inflation costs, some people might be trying to ration meals, so the body cannot really withstand, the stress, additional stress of the heat stroke. So I would say those are the most categories, but generally everybody is at risk because even you have elderly people going for marathon just for going for exercise, and they actually have heat stroke and they pass out. So everybody really, but those category of people are more at risk.
So what are the possible health related issues that may arise from this as well? Because I imagine that the hospitals might be seeing more patients, but what are the things to look out for, and what are the conditions now that may be exacerbated?
Yeah, so things to look out for will be if you feel like you you feel your heart is racing fast. So by the time the body temperature is getting above 40 degrees centigrade and above, your body starts responding certain way. So it might be dizziness, might just be sweating profusely, and people will get like lightheaded. They'll feel like they want to pass out. Some people can start feeling sick, not just feeling all right, and before you know it, some people actually pass out. And by the time you pass out, obviously that has a lot of implications because at that time, blood flow to the vital body organs are actually tampered with or interfered with. And it just means that if the necessary intervention is not put in place on time, some people can actually pass out for quite a long time because of that. And of course, people might not know what's happening. So chest pain, if you feel really sick, you feel your heart racing fast, you feel dizzy or lighted or just really, really unwell, then obviously those are some of the signs to watch out for.
So when it happens, when it eventually happens, God forbid, what are the first precautionary measures? What are the first, for first responders, what should they do?
Yeah. So obviously, because this is a topic everyone should be aware of, and particularly with the temperature, everyone should be aware that when people pass out, so the first thing is to make sure the person is safe. When people fall, obviously they don't know what's around. Try to clear the area of any dangerous substance. Try to expose them as much as possible. People are wearing 2-3 layers of clothing. Try to remove that. You should get like warm water or cold water. If you have like very cold water around, just pour it on the person because you want to cool down that temperature. Pour cold water on the person. Ensure that you treat the person. There's no wound. There's no place the person is bleeding, because by the time people pass out, they might have injuries and might start bleeding, and of course that will even make them more dehydrated. So you want to pour water on them and really cool them, and call for the nearest help. To the nearest hospital as much as possible, because most times these people need to be started on intravenous fluid just to allow their body the body temperature to cool down. But I think for first responders, it would be to identify that this person is really unwell, and we want to expose you as much as possible. We want to pour cool water on you as much as possible, and make sure you're not bleeding or no obvious injury, and call for help. Yeah.
So maybe this could be a very good time to learn how other climes handle heat waves or heat strokes, or excessive heat generally. I know in some climes, when you have that heat, they find a way to cool the air. It costs a lot, right? But they just find a way to make life easy. Some others just try to put water points in public places so people can easily get hydrated. So in the Nigerian situation, right? What are some of the policies, interventions I think can help at this time?
Yeah. So, I mean, for instance, in the United Kingdom, even at work, we have the period where it's really warm. And what they do is we have water cooling station in each workplace. So you have where they write it like, make sure have you taken your water break today? Even in the toilet, they're like reminders to say, have you had enough water? This is 11 a.m. How much water have you had to drink today? Especially when it's during the hot period, also in our site. So in Nigeria, I think some of the things people can do, for instance, in the workplace, is to have water stations so that water stations are positioned in places where people can really see them, where there's daily reminders or regular reminders to say people, everyone, you need to look after yourself. Make sure you have regular water breaks is very important. Sometimes, like in ourselves, they have free like ice creams and all of that, so that people can just really, be encouraged and motivated to take things that will cool them. So that's what some workplaces can adapt. Obviously, in the public places, about raising awareness, making sure people know that you have to drink water, you have to buy water. Obviously, with inflation, the government can look into try to subsidizing and trying to maybe position some water, some safe drinking water posts so that people know that, okay, I can just go there and drink water, and of course to make sure that it's clean water. You can set reminders on your phone. You can get some water coolers or some water containers that have these marks, and just say by 11 a.m. you should have drunk this water, 2 p.m. you should have drunk this water,
right.
And just be a more conscious effort towards making sure everyone is staying hydrated. Try to time your movements, so that it doesn't fall during the peak time. Yeah.
There you go, Dr. Leah Jai. Honestly, ice cream wouldn't be a bad idea now that you mention it. Maybe another day we should talk about the negative impact of man's activities on the environment as well. But important conversation we've had. Thank you for the pointers. We've been speaking with Dr. Leah Ajayi, who's a specialist in acute medicine and stroke. Thank you for your time and have a great day at work.
Thank you. Yeah, bye.
So there you have it. Please, let's pay attention. It's very important. But we'll take a quick break now. When we return, we'll switch gears to the business side of things. We have some inspiration coming up for you in a moment. Stay with us.
Okay, it's Women's Month, so we continue that series. Tolulokpe Ariyibi, okay, first African woman to lead a tertiary level education tech institution in the UK. She's also the CEO of Metropolitan School of Business and Management UK. Thank you so much for coming on the program, Tolulokpe. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me, Mr. Patrick.
So let's begin on the celebratory mood. Explain to us what this means. The first African woman to lead a tertiary level ed tech institution. We're celebrating women, so let's begin with your own first.
Yes, okay, so essentially, we have lots of women in education, right? Funny thing is, a lot of women are primary school, secondary school. We have so many head teachers, we have so many proprietresses. But when it comes to the EdTech, it's a different ballgame entirely. And the women that are in that space as well also focus mostly on the younger levels of education, like primary and secondary. So, well, I am actually the first African, right, in the tertiary level space. That's university level where you're looking at undergraduates, postgraduates, masters, like that, right? So, and that is a very big feat, I believe, because it's not an easy space to get into. It's seriously dominated by men and a lot of non-African men. And then, the few that are also African is very, very few as well. So, yeah, so I think it's something to be very proud of. I've worked really hard to get there. It was a very long process. I always tell people that I was first a lawyer, then I moved into education, and I moved in from the really low levels till I climbed my way up. So yeah, it's something to be very happy about. And I'm quite happy about that.
So let's get back to that old question, which has to be asked even tomorrow. How important or not education is from where you sit, because some people have, let's talk about, I know you're in the UK, sometimes in Nigeria, I'm sure you heard some Nigerians say, or young people, I must be specific, say education is a scam. And they have their reason. They have their reason. All you have to do is to listen to them, and they now have to perhaps convince them otherwise. So from where you sit, how important is education in achieving one's dream?
Okay, there is something I'm always telling people. We view education as the gathering of information or getting knowledge. And that is actually the wrong way to look at education, right? Because I know that Einstein said this, but he said it in a different manner, right? He said that education is the training of the mind. I like to think of education as a training of the brain to help you to deal with issues in a different manner. And the truth of the matter is that the reason why people say education is a scam is very simple, because I've listened to both sides of the story. They say that it's a scam because they look at the amount of money it costs them to actually get educated. And by the time they spend all that money and then they start working, the ROI just doesn't meet up. And this is outside of the scam, outside of the stress rather that it involves for a lot of them. And I've also noticed that for a lot of these people, there is a lot of issues when it comes to education, because somehow it's as if the teachers are on one end trying to ensure that they learn very well. On the other end, the student feels like they're just trying to stress me out. They don't understand that I don't understand it. And when I'm trying to understand it, they fail me. So all that stress coupled with the cost of the money, coupled with when they now get to the workplace and try to earn a living, and then they're like, is it even worth it at the end of the day? I spent all this amount of money and this is where, I am. But I always tell people that the reason why you think that way is because you stopped at a certain point and said, okay, this is an investment. Yes, education is an investment. Don't get me wrong. But I believe that it is more of the training of the brain. If there is no space, right? If you're trying to achieve something and you're not able to achieve that thing, then you can just move out of that space and move on to the next level and start looking for a different solution to that problem, because there's always going to be problems, right? So I tell people, don't look at education as just an investment. Look at it as a training of your brain to think, and much more than think outside the box to be able to solve problems in a different manner.
Just recently, Nigeria's Minister of Education, by the way, this is something that has been said time and again, but he reiterated some data saying that about 60 million Nigerian children are poorly educated in that sense, so they can't read well, write well, and that's at the primary level. If you go to the secondary level, particularly the public schools now, you ask some students to string together a sentence or write a sentence, you find a lot of them still having issues, constructing or at least finding a way to express themselves. And that brings to the fore the issue around the language itself for education. Again, education means different things, but today education basically means Western education in that sense, because that's the process now that is global. So how can we properly localize education to fit our realities, our peculiarities? Because these pupils, all of us actually, you have to first learn the language before you now learn the education, and it's usually very tricky for them.
Okay, when you say learn the language, it's an interesting concept, because the truth of the matter is that we were colonized by the Westerners, right? So if I remember correctly, growing up in Nigeria, because I did all my education in Nigeria, I only did my master's level, postgraduate level outside of Nigeria. If I remember correctly, English was our go-to language, right? Out of English came pidgin language, pidgin English, but English was our go-to language. And if the children are not learning...
Pardon me quickly, just to put it in proper context again, When you say English was our go-to language, majority of Nigerians grow up learning their mother tongue in that sense. So it could be Yoruba, it could be Hausa, it could be Igbo,
yes.
right? A lot of
Yes.
us actually grew up on learning first our mother tongue. So you learn
Yes.
Yoruba or what have you. Then you get into school and you have to start learning English. So that's what I mean. A lot of Nigerians started that way.
And I get that. I get that, right? But it's if you look at it in the right context, it's like you growing up in a country. Let's assume they take you to another country, maybe to France, right? And you know your mother language because that is the language you first learned within the house. But when you go outside, what people speak more is French. And then you begin to pick the language and you begin to learn that language. And I feel like for most Nigerians, yes, I understand that that is not our mother tongue, but because we're such an interwoven community, the truth is the first language I'll probably speak, and I have more Igbo friends than Yoruba friends because I schooled in Enugu, right? My federal government college was in Enugu. I have more Igbo friends than Nigerian friends. But the first language that we speak to each other, because I'm a Yoruba woman and all of my friends are Igbos, the first language that we speak to each other was English. So if we want to localize things, we need to be able to separate the two, that, okay, there is the local language, but interestingly too, a lot of parents, they try to get their children into school at some certain ages. I'm not sure what age it is now, but I remember that when I was young, it was around 3 to 4 years old, right? By 5 years, you get into nursery, 6 years, primary one. That was the way it was in my own time. So all the years till you're like 3, 4, you're learning your mother tongue. But when you get into school, and even before you get into school, you're already learning the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E. And I remember that even then too, based on your language, they start teaching you Yoruba. I mean, then I learned how to write in Yoruba, learn the intonations of Yoruba and the Igbo people, and some very, adventurous people. When I was in Enugu then, they actually were coming to Yoruba class. And I remember we're very few in Enugu, but they came to Yoruba class to come learn the language since they felt that they were already Igbo speakers, right? And learn how to read and write it. What I'm just trying to say is that the breakdown of this education has very little to do about the language that we're learning it in. It has more to do about the structure itself, right? The structure where we're trying to allow easy passage when it comes to what we are teaching people or how we are even teaching them, and how we're not moving with the times. So it's one of the things that I even tell people here in the UK sometimes too, that we're busy teaching our children about rights, but we're not teaching them about responsibilities, right? It's the same thing. We're busy teaching them just how to, pass exams, but we're not actually teaching them how to understand what they need to do to be able to pass that exam or even use whatever they've taught them in school outside of the school. So I feel the issue is not about the language itself. I feel it's about the structure, and it has to start from the very, very foundations. How are we teaching them? What has changed, essentially? What has changed? Because you and I...
Let's broaden it a little within the time we have. I know you've argued about the structure and the language. So what came to my mind to maybe put a debate over that is, look at China. Whether America likes it or not, America gets worried when they hear the word China. Because America creates one thing, in 10 minutes, China will create 10 of those things. And they are not using English. And they are not British. So we can't even call it the UK or Europe, something close to them, because they learned it in their own language. So if there's an opportunity to reprogram the system, reintroducing language such that we can use our languages to learn mathematics, we can use our language to learn biology, chemistry, don't you think we'll do better and learning will be more fun and more accelerated, or it's too late right now? Because I just gave you a classic example. China, America, and the UK. The results are there to speak for itself.
Yes, and I love that particular analogy. And this is one of the things that I'm always trying to explain to us try to, when I'm talking to people at home and even here in the UK, this is what I'm always telling them. I said, we always talk as if Nigeria is as old as these other countries. And it pains me because whatever we are going through in Nigeria right now as a country is very similar to what every other country has gone through at some point in their life. We're not, anyway, we're just normal human beings going through a certain process. And that process, we'll go through it until a certain years ahead. Now, you mentioned India, you mentioned China. It's also the same thing in India, by the way. And even in some places in Pakistan, they actually teach them in Urdu. But one thing you have to understand is that these people have been building their language over centuries to understand how to be able to teach. And interestingly, I'm in Scotland, right? Scotland, the native language in Scotland is Gaelic. In Ireland is Gaelic. Now, Gaelic, a lot of people are still able to learn and they teach in that language in Ireland. But in Scotland, they have adopted English. And the reason is very simple, because they find out that it is easier for them to teach their children in that English, which is what people speak more here than what they used to speak in the past. So if Nigeria wants to do that, that means that we need to have a serious overhauling where some real Yoruba scholars will start trying to understand how to translate every single mathematical or physics or chemistry term into Yoruba, which will be very difficult because we didn't have that foundation in the very beginning. So it's going to be very difficult for anybody to start teaching in that language. So if we teach in that language, they're going to get to a point where we have to stop teaching in that language because we just don't even have the right words to use to explain it to students. So I think that we've crossed that bridge already. That ship has sailed a long time ago. Just the same way the Scottish people also realized that, okay, teaching in Gaelic, that ship has sailed. Let's just switch to English and be teaching people in English because that is what is generally available now. So does that mean people don't speak Gaelic in some families? Of course they do. Still some that remember, but not that much. But that does not mean we should lose our mother tongue. It just means that we will have a different language for teaching only because we don't have the resources to get people to start trying to translate so many words in the right terms right now in Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, and you know that there's so many more languages than Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo. Like, I'm from Ondo State, and the Yoruba that I speak, if I speak it to another Yoruba person, they will not understand me. So there is a common Yoruba that I speak, that we speak in the Yoruba land. But even that common Yoruba is not as common in some other parts that can't still speak our own common Yoruba. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. I think it's the same way with Igbo. And my siblings, my sister, my sister's married Igbo, an Igbo and an Akwa Ibom person. Okay. And they speak different languages. It's not Igbo.
All right, so it's going to be an ongoing debate as far as this is concerned. But I just feel that we'll do a lot better with our language. I can imagine I learned maths or any of these technical things in my local Obolo language. I would have done way better. Tolokwe Aribi, okay, first African woman to lead a tertiary level ed tech institution in the UK, as well as the CEO of Metropolitan School of Business and Management, United Kingdom. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate the time. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll get to know what exactly is wrong with your PC. The guy who fixes it right here on air will be joining us in just a moment. Join us again. Welcome back. Let's now talk tech, and we're specifically talking about your PC and how to troubleshoot. We're being joined by our tech advisor, Aki Bitoye. He joins us right here in our Lagos studio. Aki, thank you so much for always coming through.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, a lot of people are interested in this conversation. Like, I think I have a laptop that has been there since 2012 or so. So it has seen more days than the administration of Bola Tinubu. That was just a joke. Anyway,
that's a good one.
So, but I discovered a few challenges which I'm going to run by you on the program in case there are people there who have similar problems. But you have some things for us that we should look out for the week. Let's begin from there.
Okay, so the tech tip for the week is, you know, when you copy something on your computer, when you're on your computer a lot, you copy something you want to paste somewhere, then inadvertently you copy something else. And it has overwritten what you copied before. And like, oh, I need to go and look for this thing and copy it again. So there's a feature on your computer which we hardly use that remembers everything you have copied all through the day. So if you're on a Windows computer, if you press Windows key and the V, Windows V.
Windows V.
Windows V.
The Windows V.
Yes, not Control V.
Windows
and V. It will open your clipboard and you can just tell it to remember everything you're copying. So if you copy, for example, if you are into data entry or you type a lot, or what you do is you copy files, there's a lot of copying and pasting going on. It will remember everything for that day. So that will help you a great deal. If you're on a Mac computer, for example, and not on Windows, you can download the app Copy Clip. Copy Clip is the app you want to download. If you're on an Android on your phone or iOS, you would want to download Clipboard Manager app. Clipboard Manager app. What it does is it allows you to remember everything you have copied. If you're a social media manager, for example, and you need to copy a lot of hashtags, you need to copy for tweets and all of these things, you can use the social media, the Clipboard Manager app. It will help you a lot. For iOS users, for your iPhone and your iPad, you can use the Clippo app, and this will help you for this week to increase your productivity.
Okay, so let's get to what you're sharing with us today on the program. I'm going to bring down my challenge before we end the show.
Okay.
So let's get started. Where are we starting from?
Okay, we're starting from how to just quick fixes for your slow computer. You know, sometimes you turn on your computer and you have to go and cook beans before you come back. It would have dead up. So what we need to realize is likely causes of slow performance on your computers would be outdated software. Most times, publishers of this software release updates that make your computer perform faster. You know, over time, they will tell you certain software will not run on certain devices. Why? Because it needs more resources to run. And of course, Apple is the biggest culprit in this. They will tell you this software cannot run on so-so device, so you need to go and buy a new device. So you want to update your software to the latest version. Just as a rule of thumb, the latest software for Windows computers is Windows 11. For Mac OS is Mac OS 15, that's Sequoia. You'd want to update your software. It makes your computer perform faster. Second thing you want to do is reduce the amount of software or apps running in the background. We mentioned this some time ago, that you open a lot of software that you are using or you're not using. You're typing a lot of things, thank you. So it uses resources in the background and your computer has very limited resources to work with. That's why it's responding very slowly. And lastly, insufficient hardware resources. Well, you know, if you have a Volkswagen Beetle, the classic, and you want to speed with maybe a Honda Accord.
By range.
No, I don't want to use that one. Do you understand? Yeah. It can only go so far. So some computers that we have are dated, so they can only go so far. There's only so much you can pimp or upgrade them, so you might need to consider getting a new device.
So that particular laptop of mine that I bought, like, I can't remember the year, maybe 2011, 2012, I realized that it has mood swing. So it chooses when to see the internet, it chooses when not to see the internet.
Oh, okay.
So when you have this kind of challenges, for instance, what do you do?
The simple thing to do would just be to get an external Wi-Fi card, USB. It's a very tiny dongle. You plug it, it would allow you to get Wi-Fi. The issue is all of these electronic components have a lifespan. That computer has...
I've seen this.
Not just as it has used past, it's on borrowed time. So if the Wi-Fi is epileptic, it just means the Wi-Fi card is weak. You just need to replace it. But that will require you taking it to a technician. They will replace the Wi-Fi card and it will be as good as new. But the simplest thing you can do...
the Wi-Fi card can be replaced?
Oh, definitely. Okay. Most of these parts, well, in the early days, computers were very repairable. These days, they are trickier. They don't want you to repair them. They want you to buy new ones these days. So if it's an old computer, you're running one of the OGs computer. So
at the end of the day, some of these OGs, they have a strong head. You know, of course, strong head in technology. Yeah.
When I was much younger, there was this refrigerator that my dad bought in the 70s. That was what we used till the 2000s. It was very efficient, but of course, you know, these days, these guys just pack up at the most inopportune moment. So the older computers actually have a lot going for them, and if you get it to a technician, they will just make one or two changes to it. I want to include this.
In winding down.
Yes, I want to include it. You need to clear the cache. Cache, C-A-C-H-E. When you run your computers, when you run your devices, there are temporary files being generated each time just so that the computer can work faster.
So
over time,
cache on your own.
On your own?
Yes.
Oh, okay. There's software you can use. CCleaner. CCleaner is the name of the app for your Windows computer. Download it for your Mac computers, your MacBook, your iMac, and all of those. You can just download the app Cleaner. Cleaner, what it does is it just clears all those temporary files, freeing up precious resources for you to use your computer. Lastly, if your computer is running 4 GB of RAM, or your computer has 4 GB of RAM,
people still produce 4 GB of RAM now.
You'd be shocked. You'd be shocked. Okay. So the operating systems software
like
these days,
expressway.
Something like that. Thank you. Think of a tabletop, a coffee table, and you want to do a lot on it. It won't work because the software requirements these days, minimum 8 GB of RAM. So if your computer has 4 GB, please take it to a technician, upgrade to 8 GB of RAM. You'll get better performance.
All right, Akin Bitoye, thank you so much for always coming through. Akin is our tech advisor. He's always coming through for us to bring us up to speed as to what's wrong with our devices. Today is PC, so you can troubleshoot. We'll take a quick break, Akin, and when we come back, we'll bring you another leg of the conversation. Join us again in a moment.
Well, let's get into the conversation. Morning chapters, yes, we bring it to you every Monday. But today, we're sort of having a different conversation from the usual one. We're talking academics. You must have noticed that trend on the show this morning. We talked about education earlier on, and we broke it with PC Fix. But now we're talking about grading now, how to come up with the very best grade. I know Unilag, for example, has exams coming up in the coming days, right? So this is a time that students are probably neck deep in their books, you know, reading till daybreak, as they say. But there's a book that talks about how to get first-class honors, but in a very interesting way. And we have joining us the author of that book. His name is Bishop Joseph Ayeni. He's the author, First Class Honors, The Biblical Road to Academic Excellence. Bishop Ayeni, good morning.
Good morning.
And you're welcome.
Nice to be here.
It's great to have you. I find your story very intriguing. You finished with the first class at the Obafemi Awolowo University in correct. Computer Science and Economics. It's very interesting, really, because first-class students always have that respect. Once you say, I finished with the first class, people just automatically put you in a certain category. But this didn't happen overnight for you, particularly because of the faith angle. But I want you to start from the beginning, because reading through your book, I saw your experience in your room, room 117, you know, Bafemi Awolowo. That's the Fajri Hall.
Yes.
Talk us through that first experience in school and how it cascaded to a first-class degree.
Thank you very much, Kayode. Thank you very much, Jeff. Let me start by appreciating the channel television, because this is also a first-class channel. You know, 16-time Best TV Award. That is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, if I may say. It's absolutely fantastic.
Thank you for the
compliment. I mean, this started in the space of 30 years, was it not? And 1995 to date, that's great. So coming back, I always believe that in anything that you do, you need to put in your best version. That's always has been, you know, my life. And I said it to my children, I said it to people that I talk to, always present the best version of yourself. So coming to the university in 1989, I was religious, but I didn't know Christ. I mean, know him, having a personal connection with him. Know him as my Lord and my Savior. Obey his rules. It's not just going to church. When he said do this, doing it. I didn't have that. I wasn't at that level at that time. So I entered into the room that day, were 6 that were freshers. Then we have 2 that were stellites. You know, they were looking for a place to stay with us. And this young man wrote to me, I like to withhold the surname, just said to us that I hope nobody's born again in this room. And Everybody said yes. And he clapped, and we joined him in clapping. We didn't know what he meant. But obviously, after a few days, I met him in the way I described in my book. You know, it wasn't the best way at all. And that really put a sort of struggle into my mind. You know, maybe I should practice the same thing. Maybe I should go the same way. So life is free here. You can do whatever you like. Your daddy is not going to ask you. Mommy is not going to ask you.
Sorry, for context,
Yes.
you found Rotimi in a room with a lady.
Yes.
For people who have not read this book, so they understand what happened.
I found it in a romantic embrace with a lady. They were not married, you know, obviously, and I felt that was wrong. I knew it was wrong, but I thought that maybe because you're in the university now, you can do whatever you like. So day in, day out, I was thinking about how to practice that. But every time I made that attempt, something pulled me back. I later realized it's the plan of God. Because if I've had this scandal in my life, it becomes very difficult for me to come out to a television station like this and talk about Christ. People will be passing comments, but we know you, but we know your past. You know, although when you are born again, everything becomes new, but you see those things still follows you. Still follows you around. So that's the story. A117 Fajuyi Hall.
So you bring a dimension to academics that is quite interesting.
Yes.
How faith can help you with your academics. But what we find a lot is people sort of maybe abuse that. So you've not read all through the term or the session, as the case may be. You've not been attending classes. And then 2 weeks or 1 week, you start praying. You start saying, I need you to show me those questions and the answers. So how do you strike that balance? Some people, they're in school, but they spend most of their time in worship centers because they think that that is how to make it. So how do you strike that balance?
Kayode, I love that question. Honestly, I love that question. It's actually an abuse of faith. So you need to read your book. It's a general law. If you work hard, you will be successful. All things being equal. You need to read. I don't believe in people taking their Bible to prayer houses and they are not reading their books. And then they have exam tomorrow and they are attending night vigil today. When you have exam 9 a.m. tomorrow, you are doing all night and praying to God. You need to read. There is time for everything. There is time to read, and there is time to devote to the things of God. If you're a student, your primary reason for being at the university is because you want to be successful in whatever course you want to do. You want to come out the best. So yes, you can't do anything without God because many people do read. They read all through, and yet they still fail. Maybe they get to the exam and they develop sickness, or maybe they forget everything they have read, or a life event happened to them. Maybe a day before their father passed on, their mother died, or anything happened in the family. It just scattered them. But you see, when you trust in the Lord, it makes everything to work to your favor. It makes everything. You can't be partying and then 2 weeks to the exam and then you are running to prayer houses and praying. I don't believe in that personally. I believe that you need to read your book. It says study to show thyself approved. Not only to God, approved even everywhere you're working. Look at Chinese television. Look at the presenters. You know, everything you are doing, you have so many followers, you have so many listeners because they're getting the best from this station. There is preparation. There is, maybe you are people of faith as well. Maybe you said a word of prayer before you come here, like I did myself. So this is the way it works. If you want to go and read accounting, you have to read in the school. If you want to do computer science, you have to read. You want to do medicine, you have to read. There is no magic.
So we can simulate it in even in other parts of life.
Yes.
But let's talk about some of the things you said in your books, and quite interesting, and a bit of a blend of many things as reasons for failure. I would like you to speak to some of the things you've stated as reasons for failure, but I'm interested in this particular one.
Okay.
It's insufficient home training.
Yes.
How can insufficient home training affect ability to pass or fail?
I give you that a very simple example. If you don't respect your parents at home, you are not likely going to respect your lecturers. I'm telling you. You might not believe that. But if you don't have respect for elders, you don't know that you need to honor them and respect their age. Then something happened. I saw some videos on TikTok recently. Somebody was doing a video and the lecturer was passing and all sorts of things that happened. If you don't have respect for elderly people, now if you don't have respect for your teacher, you don't listen to them, you are not likely going to be successful. Because out of respect, you have peace. peace of mind. Out of respect, you are going to go to them to ask for questions. Out of respect, you are going to go to them to ask for clarification. Out of respect, you are going to listen to instructions. But if you don't have home training and they just give back to you and you're just wandering the streets and you are learning all sorts of things from all kind of people and you are smoking weeds and every sort of things, then you find out that you cannot be the best. I'm not saying you cannot pass, because some people can cheat and pass. But it's not likely that you cheat and become first class. It's not very likely. Not at the Obafemi Awolowo University that I went through.
Okay, we're not going to get into schoolwork this morning because I represent the first and the best university.
Thank you.
That's the University of Ibadan, but we're not getting there. On the flip side, Bishop, is what you find around. And in fact, you talked about a TikTok video. There's another TikTok video, a young lady who had put up a video, you know, talking about her experience with the government, an NYSC core member, right? And she described the president as terrible. A lot of people said that was rude. And then she got a call back from someone she described as someone in the NYSC. And the way the person spoke to her was condescending. And what you find in a lot of schools these days, let me just say in some schools, I'm hoping it's getting better, but you find that some lecturers have sort of become a god. So the respect they get from the students is not, because they say respect is reciprocal, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So the students are treated like right, they're spoken to anyhow. You know, they are dressed down, they're treated like, not even children, they're treated like servants. So I want you to balance that. Yes. I know this is not in the purview of the student, but maybe this can also help teachers approach students in a different way. Because there are some students that failed because of the way the lecturer spoke to them, made them feel like you don't know anything, demeaned them. Bishop, speak to that.
That really touched me. You know, when I was in the university, even before I go to the university, I have a lecturer at my A-levels and secondary school, Mr. Joseph D. Eskin, a Ghanaian. You know, the way this man relates to me, we come to class with just a piece of chalk, and then we write and teach us everything. That actually motivates me. Maybe you have heard about the recitation that I did recently of the whole gospel according to St. John, you know, and that of James. It's out of this respect that I have for this man and the fact that you can learn so many things because of the way God has made it. But coming to your question, I think the teachers should also respect the students. Just as the Bible says, wife should submit to the husband should respect the wife. It's a two-way. You understand? So when you go to school and you make yourself a god, you make yourself the alpha and the omega, I don't think it's the best. I was talking about the lady. Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
Talking about the lady that she got called back and whatever. I don't know what she has said. I'm not aware of it, but I think our conversation must be constructive. That's where I put it. If you want to make any change, you want to bring any new thing, let us be constructive about the way we talk. Words are very powerful. The Bible says in Game 3, it says, the word that you speak, our tongue, is like a fire. So when you just open your mouth and you just talk, there's a way you can talk in a positive way, and there's a way you can talk in a negative way and make things very bad. And we must be careful of that. Sorry, Jay.
Bishop, in talking to the lecturers, it's important we stay on it for a bit, because perhaps some of these lecturers, maybe that's not what they are called to do. Don't you think so? Because I remember when I was in the university, one of the women that I respect till the day I die is, I think she should be a prof now, Dr. Eteng. And she did something that caught my attention.
Tell me.
We're studying Fortran. A lot of people are coming to the class, computer science and all of that. Just looking at, then she just said, how many of you understand what we're doing? How many of you can do this? Then she asked a question that literally melted everybody. So how many of you are in this class who don't even understand what we're even talking about at all? And there were people that make them comfortable so that she knows where to start. When I look at people like that, I know this one is called to teach, not a hustler. So I want you to balance this for us as to people that are really called to teach versus those who, you know, this is just a way out.
And you have given a very good analogy. You see, there are some people that are in nursing today, they are not called to be a nurse. And so the way they harass their patient, but there are some people, they just love to be a nurse. There are some people that just love to be a teacher. They love to teach, is their joy. They are not only thinking about the money. Money is important, but their primary purpose is to raise the next generation So they want to give their all. It could be the case that such lecturers are frustrated. When I finished my first class at Ife, they approached me to become a lecturer there. But at that time, I was not ready. I don't think that is what I'm out to do at that time. I want to build my family and, you know, add to the society. And I can add to society by being at the university, but I just want to go into the world and see what is happening, because there has been a prophecy about my life that when I finish, I'm going to go all over the world. I'm going to talk about Christ. So I can't just limit myself at that time. And so if you are not called to be, so you are enjoying what you are doing. I can see from your faces, when we see our television, it's so lovely, it's so brilliant. We're proud of you. You enjoy it not only because of the money, but you love to do it. So anything that we want to do, we need to love to do it. It has to be a calling. You want to be a pastor, it has to be a calling. Otherwise, you'll be frustrated.
I think maybe now would be a good time to do another survey. If you are just doing teaching or lecturing for the sake of it, raise your hand. If you really love it, raise your hand as well, just as Jeffrey's lecturer did. But Bishop, you did something very remarkable recently. You recited the gospel, and you mentioned that, the gospel according to John.
Yes.
The whole book. 21 chapters.
Correct.
I don't know if it is you showing off your first class, just to prove to some of us that didn't finish your first class that I am brilliant. But can I ask you to recite a portion of it, and you can still recite it?
Of course, yes. But before I say that, I did this for my own edification.
Right.
That was the reason why I did it. And then my wife, Lady Ayeni, said I should record it. And then I called a brother who works around this place, and he helped us to do the recording. And he said, look, you can't keep this to yourself. Let us create channels for you to be able to show it, you know, social media. I never had until December last year. That is the fact. So everything I did was for my own edification. So John chapter 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. There was a man sent from God, whose name was John. The same came for a witness, to bear witness of the truth, that all men through him might believe. It was not that light, but was sent to bear witness of that light. That was the true light, that lighted every man that come into the world. I can go on and go on and go on.
Bishop, how did you code it? And this is a very important thing. Do you see it in your mind? Did you cram it? Did you code it in such a way that you are telling yourself a story so you know what is next? How did you fix it in your head?
So briefly, I will read, let's say chapter 1, for example. I will read it and make sure I understand what God is saying.
So you understand first?
Yes.
So that helps you to now regurgitate it?
Yes. So I will read it and understand what God is saying. What are the lessons for me? What are the things I can teach people? And then I take it portion by portion. The first 5, I repeat it. Then the next 5, repeat it. When I wake up in the night, I'm reciting. I'm going to the loo, I'm reciting. When I'm driving, I'm reciting until it becomes ingrained into my spirit. And then I go to the next chapter. That's what I did.
Fantastic. We can go on and on. And that's King James Version.
Yes, King James Version.
Which is tough. So this is not la cram la pour. This is understanding.
King James Version.
King
Yes.
James Version. So let's talk Bible now. Some people prefer King James. Some people say, oh, maybe Message Bible makes it not like they also cast out demon. King James work better than Message. I want you to speak to that controversy.
I think it's about the power that follow the word. You know, it said the word I speak unto you, their spirit and their life. Either you are quoting King James Version or the Messenger or New International Version or American Standard Version, it doesn't matter. It is the power that God has given you that follows your word. It's not just empty words. These words, their spirit and their life. They are the word of Christ. So when you speak it in the right attitude, in the right mind, and you also have faith, believing that what you say is going to come to pass, it happens. I can tell you that.
Beautiful. Just quickly, can everybody make a first class?
Not so. Not so. Because, number one, then what is the basis of testing people?
Does everybody have that capacity to make a first class?
Because coming back from the UK now, there's some people that are born with certain difficulties, okay? Realizing that it may not be possible for everybody, but if you get them on their level, where it may be so, but if you put us on a standard, on the same level, not everybody. And although you don't make first class, it doesn't mean that you're going to be lower when you go out.
So some people should be at peace for not making making first class.
Of course. It doesn't. It's just for me. I want to be the best version of myself, and I realized that early, and that's why I was able to make it.
This is beautiful.
It's such an inspiration. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
I love this. I think everybody should grab a copy of this first-class honors, faith angle to making a first class. So we're speaking with Bishop Joseph Ayeni, who's the author of the book. Came out with the first class OAU computer science. I'm sure you abandoned computer
science and economics.
No, I still have some little understanding, but I'm not deep into it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kayode. Thank you, Jeff.
So looking forward to the recitation of the whole Bible.
Yes, of course. The whole Bible? No, I don't have that. I don't have that plan. Maybe you will do it.
That would be nice. So we'll take a quick break now, and when we return, it's the home stretch. Stay with us.